Hi, I'm Tammy Greenberg, Senior Vice President of Business Development at the REB, and welcome to the Radio on Main Street podcast. This series was recorded on site at the 2025 ANA Masters of Marketing Conference in Orlando, Florida. Team RAB was on site, spending a full week learning, growing, and sharing the power of radio with more than 3,000 brand marketers. The conference theme was Powering the Industry Agenda, and we heard a lot about growth driven by the fusion of AI, data, and human creativity, all working together to deepen connections and deliver real results.
It is Radio on Main Street from the ANA, and thrilled to have Mike with us. He grew up in Buckeye Land, but he's a Michigan fan who now lives in the great state of California.
Absolutely.
But you're in the financial space.
I am. I've had a career in financial services marketing and made a couple stops at some really beloved brands, and I'm enjoying my time being out on the West Coast and serving the great people of the state of California.
All right, well, tell us about the credit union that you represent, and then we want to get a little bit of your background and journey and talk about marketing. We want to talk about audio, AI, and whatever else pops up.
Absolutely. So Golden One Credit Union has been around for almost 100 years. We're a $20 billion credit union. We've got 1.2 million members, and we like to say another 40 million to go in the state of California. So we're growing. We're the number 2 in the state. We're top 10 in the country. And we like to talk about the fact that we're for people, not for profit. So very mission focused, very strategic in terms of helping to improve the financial lives of Californians and make sure that we're giving back while also doing good and helping people with their everyday banking needs. So it's been a fantastic opportunity and fantastic experience.
So you mentioned what you're involved with. What I'd like to know is how you do it. So when you look at your approach to marketing, obviously here at the RAB, we're very interested in the radio and the audio space, all the different ways that radio, which truly is the audio leader, impacts the marketing cycle. I'd like to hear what your impact is.
Yeah, so part of the attraction for me and the work that we're doing at Golden One is the kind of our department's mantra this year has been about incrementality. And so it's not about an or, it's about an and it's like, how do we get a little bit better? How do we not have to face trade-offs on things? And I believe that the marketing mix and just the overall marketing practice is about test and learn. It's about leaning into innovation in channels, but also making sure that you're also leaning into innovation within traditional channels as well. And so we're constantly testing different channels, different mixes, different audiences, different activities and platforms to really find that full, holistic, always-on type of approach to what we're doing and how we go to market, and then also match that up with what we're doing in the community as well. And so whether it's terrestrial, traditional, radio, broadcast, linear, digital, social, to us it's all about reaching our potential audiences, reaching our existing members, our potential members, those that we want to serve and do serve, and reach them on the means in terms of where we can connect with them and have an impact and penetrate and hopefully get them to consider us next time they make a financial decision.
So do you have some success stories you could share?
Yeah, we really, one of the ones that we've been doing a lot has been in the traditional radio space, has been looking at different audiences and different types that we've been doing as well. So in some cases, we've got some really heavily penetrated Hispanic markets in some of our geographies as well, and we're trying to find different ways to reach them. And so we've been doing some different things this activity, and there are some different activities this year, and have been seeing really a nice lift. So we've been testing that. We are the official credit union of the Sacramento Kings and the naming rights partner of the Golden One Center. And so sports has been a great opportunity for us to test into some different platforms and do some non-traditional things to not only just take what we do on site and what people experience if they actually go to the game, what about those that are listening to the game off-site or they're consuming it on a different platform? How do we reach out to them to make that same connection and make that same emotional tie that people feel when they're at the game and in the arena that they do when they're absorbing it from someplace outside of downtown Sacramento?
Brand loyalty.
Yes.
Tied to sports marketing, and again, our industry very much, in that space. I use the example, we're Indianapolis Colts season ticket holders.
There you go.
I once bought a bottle of ketchup that wasn't the brand that sponsored the Red Zone.
Right.
At Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play.
Yep.
My daughter said, "Dad, why did you buy that brand, not the official brand of the team?" Like, that's real.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And you probably see extensions like that.
We do. You see
Maybe little girls not yelling at their dads because they, were at a different
brought the wrong
credit
ketchup
union.
or yeah. Well, I think a lot of it's about you do want to make that connection and have that relationship, as well. One of the things that we try to do with our sponsorships, particularly with the Kings, is we want to pass the benefits on to our members as well. So they get ticket discounts. We do seat upgrades. They waive their card, and we give them gifts at the stadium, and they can also take part in special events. There was a fan fest last weekend, and so we invited some of our members, and they can come in. And so we really look at this opportunity to give back and give them opportunities they may not otherwise have, and also return value in a different way, not only just in what we do in terms of the products and services we offer and the value that those create, but then also putting more money into our members' pockets by helping them get a cut on buying merchandise, get that jersey, get those tickets so they can take that experience, but it doesn't cost them as much as it might if they were paying full out of pocket.
You mentioned, the question I have for you is, how do you measure it? How do you measure all of it? You'd mentioned we have 40 million Californians that aren't members yet.
Yes.
That's an easy answer, but how do you measure?
We really look at from the idea of, first of all, we making a connection. Does the brand resonate? Obviously, we're in a market where you have some of the largest banking institutions in the country that are competing against community banks, credit unions, the fintechs that are out there as well. And so we really look at it from all angles to say, where do we carve out that niche of where we can be the most relevant, where we can have the greatest impact, and then measure against that as well. And so for us, we've got physical network and branches in some locations, but not others. So we've been doing a lot in the digital space. And so for us, it helps because digital can be done anywhere, anytime. It's an unconstrained channel. And so, but we also have a physical network that we also have to make sure that we're feeding opportunities to as well and driving people into the branch locations as well. So we really just think omnichannel, and then we measure against that and say, overall, net, how are we doing in terms of growth and impact? And then beyond that, what kind of impact are we having in the community, our giving, our volunteerism, our engagement that we have in the marketplace as well. So we track everything from brand metrics to funnel metrics, traditional, non-traditional, and just look at everything holistically, again, from the standpoint of feeling like, are we accomplishing, return on our mission and our objective of engaging with those markets.
Mike, you mentioned the financial space is so competitive.
Yeah.
And you have very large competitors, you have small competitors. You also have the web, where someone could choose that as their banking partner.
Absolutely.
And so how do you differentiate yourself? Besides the sponsorships and those sorts of things, I'm sure there's some very specific ways that you target that.
Yeah, we focus in on not only making sure that our brand is modern, but we also want to make sure that our service is modern as well. And so this is an exciting time for us right now. We just introduced a new digital banking platform. We just expanded our services for small business and what we're offering in the business space as well. We've been introducing new products and services that are pretty unique. We've got a savings product that we call Growth Savings, and it's very unique in that the first $1,000 earns more interest than the second $1,000, which usually at a traditional bank, at the savings account, it's going to be the opposite direction. More money you put, the more interest you earn. But the idea is we want to get you started in savings, get you started building up an emergency fund. And so doing innovative things like that to serve our members helps to set us apart and differentiate us in some cases from others. And it's very much in keeping with what the credit union movement is about. And so we really work in a synergistic way with the other credit unions in terms of giving the consumer and the businesses an alternative to the traditional banks and what some of the fintechs offer as well by providing that service.
I'm going to ask you a non-human question, but clearly in your space, the human is critical.
Right.
The relationship is critical, as you've discussed. So now let's go non-human.
Okay.
How are you deploying AI? How do you see AI as an enhancement or a detriment, perhaps?
Absolutely, yeah. We're trying to do it in a very balanced and measured way. It is what the name says it is. It's intelligent and it's artificial, right? And we are about authenticity and being genuine, but we also are innovative and we want to serve our communities and serve our membership. And so our focus on AI is helping us to be more efficient in ways that helps us to be able to better serve. And so we've been doing some things on the creative side with our agency to help to do more automation in terms of building out some of our creative and some of our work. But our work is still very much touched by our creative teams and our agency teams, and nothing leaves our shop that's not touched by a human or has some level of human engagement or interaction with it as well. And we've got so much opportunity right now with what we're doing just with traditional marketing, and so much growth that we're seeing and resonance that we're seeing with what we're doing right now. We're in a good spot because we can kind of balance out innovation and pursuing AI while also getting better at kind of more the traditional measures and means that we've been using as well. And so I think it's going to continue to be that way. We want to make sure that it's authentic. We want to make sure that it's responsible in what we're doing as well. That's really important to us just from a culture and from a values perspective. And so I'm excited about where we're heading, but we're trying to do more in terms of triggers and personas and audiences, and using AI for ways that we can reach more potential members and be more responsive to the needs of our existing members as well to serve them better.
What do you expect from a marketing partner? For instance, the broadcast folks in California that interact with you, what do you expect from them?
I always look at any partner that I work with, the telltale connection is if they just feel like they're an extension of your team. So if I'm engaging with you and others who don't know that you don't work at Golden One Credit Union, think that you work at Golden One Credit Union because we speak the same language, you understand what we're about, you understand what we're trying to accomplish. And being here at A&A and hearing somebody like a Mark Pritchard, right, who's the brand guru from Procter & Gamble, and talking about how important those partnerships are, and let those folks do the best creative because they know what you're trying to accomplish. That's what I look for, is just that extension. And whether that's a media partner, a sponsorship, a creative agency, an ad or a PR agency, to me, it's always just that chemistry and that connection that you have as well, where you kind of know that you understand and you're on the same page. And I think then you have the trust that they can go do their best work, or they can do their best work on your behalf, and then you're going to get the results.
Again, for our listeners and our viewers, they weren't in the room for the opening session here at the A&A, but I'm going to reference it anyway, because you had a dichotomy. You had a speaker who is a world-class observer of AI technology, and then you had Mark Pritchard, and his presentation was blocking and tackling.
Yes.
The AI presentation scared the hell out of you.
Right.
And then you offset that with what Mark did, but it worked really well.
Absolutely.
For what what we deal with today and what we're going to deal with in the future.
Absolutely. And I think it helps you kind of think about what it looks like. And one of the other great things about, forums like the A&A and the Masters of Marketing is we spent time yesterday with the CMO Growth Council, and we got together and we had PwC came in with some research that they had done across multiple brands and award-winning campaigns and efforts, and shared with us frameworks for how to incorporate AI, how to think about how to structure. So it isn't just about the race to see who can get fastest in AI and who can get to the nearest outcome. It was more about how do we set it up and structure it so that you can do it for the long haul. And the example we just heard from, a speaker that was in a session a little earlier today was they talked about how much speed and how much progress they made in 4 months.
Right.
And so to your point is it's that the traditional working hand in hand with what's going on with AI and what's going on with machine learning and a lot of the innovation that's happening as well. And that's what we're experiencing here now, which is much different than it probably was 10, 15 years ago when you'd be coming in and talking about the next big ad.
But the human always matters.
Absolutely.
The human is central to what makes radio and audio successful.
Absolutely.
It always has and it always will.
Absolutely. Yeah, for me, radio has played such a huge part in my life. Growing up in Ohio, Toledo, what then was called rock is now called classic rock, right? So WIOT, but in Toledo, Uncle Joey. But then I was also able to pick up the Riff, WRIF up in Detroit, right? And Arthur Penholler and all that, just those legendary disc jockeys that were there. And it was just such a big part of my life, listening to, sports games, and there's nothing like it. It just paints a picture and it's so creative. And I had an interesting kind of fulcrum in my career path. I was in college in Ohio, and part-time, I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do as far as my major and where I wanted to focus. And I had an opportunity to, I was doing DJ setups for a local wedding DJ in town. We'd set up equipment, but we also would do some side jobs. And one of the things we were doing was we would work with some of the local radio stations and go set up when they were doing pitches to advertisers. And so we'd set up the sound for him. And there was a guy named Dick Orkin from the Radio Ranch. Do you know Dick? You know the Radio Ranch?
Hall of Fame.
The Hall of Fame, right?
Hall of
and
Famer.
Had no idea who this guy was, and I just knew that I had this assignment, so I went and I set up.
You were so
They were
lucky.
bringing in a group of advertisers. He comes in. My boss hands me this reel-to-reel player and says, hook this thing up with the speakers, and he's going to tell you, give you a cue, you turn it on. He comes in with this reel-to-reel and sets it all up and everything. And he got up there and told these stories and played these ads. He's built, for your listeners, and you can go out and find this stuff on YouTube and everything as well. He created some of the most legendary and creative radio ads of the 70s, 80s, and beyond. And in that moment, I was like watching the reaction of the audience. He was talking about the effectiveness of the advertising and how it could work and how you could tell that story without a visual. And I just watched that connection. I'm like, that really got me interested, and I started pursuing more of the marketing classwork, advertising, and everything else in school. And I still can put myself back in that situation of standing there, watching this person who I'd never heard of before, and just what an impact that had on me at that point in my life. And I think that's a lot of what radio does.
Fantastic. I did not get up this morning thinking I was going to meet someone who Dick Orkin really led you to being here today.
It sure helped. It absolutely helped.
Chicken Man.
Chicken Man.
For those
yeah,
that,
Yeah.
hear and all the other things. So,
Yeah.
Mike, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time.
I really wanted to know how someone who grew up in Ohio became a Michigan fan and then a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, which I guess I can kind of understand.
Yes.
But you were on the wrong side of the state.
I was.
You could have been a Lions fan.
So professionally at that time, right, the Super Steelers, right, of the 70s and that era.
Steel curtain and
versus Lions, Browns, Bengals. Appreciate all of them, but it was
a lot
like
of
it was
losses
all about the
there.
Steelers, right, and what you had. And then from a Michigan standpoint, Toledo is the epicenter of the border war.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like it. And it's like so great to be there. And I've got more Ohio State fans than I have Michigan fans as a friend. But my uncle was an alum, so we used to get up to go to games up in Ann Arbor every once in a while. And if you haven't been to the big house and caught a game,
well, you've been happy
that's something
lately.
Special. Yes, yeah, it's been nice.
But the Buckeyes have your
Absolutely.
definitely circled on the calendar this year.
It'll be good.
I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Golden One Credit Union's story shows that success comes from balance. Technology and humanity, innovation and trust, digital progress and community connection. A big thank you to Mike Daum for sharing how Golden One continues to grow, modernize, and deepen its member relationships, and for sharing how legendary Radio Ranch founder Dick Orkin inspired him to pursue a career in marketing when he was just starting out.